I'm delighted to welcome on stage our moderator, Jerry He, Head of Innovation and CoMotion Global. Please give him a round of applause.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Perfect. Good morning. My name is Jerry He. I lead the technical and innovation agenda at CoMotion Global, and I'm also in charge of the APAC region as well. I'm based in New York City myself, and I'm also the executive director of the mobility and urban innovation think tank CARTS, focusing on the intersection of autonomy, infrastructure, and urban systems. I've been a friend with CoMotion for many, many years, and I'm very, very honored and glad to be able to participate and help build this first inaugural version of a CoMotion Global in Riyadh, connecting top innovators from east to the west, and more importantly, envisioning what's next for mobility and urbanism for the years to come, also in Riyadh and beyond. So back to our deep dive panel today as the concluding day of our Sentient Cities track at CoMotion Global this year. Spatial intelligence and urban autonomy. Very technical, very intellectual words, but we'll deal with them. Today, cities are moving beyond dashboards and data visualization. We're entering an era where real-time spatial intelligence enables cities to learn, decide, and react, improving how people move, access opportunities, and experience life. I'm thrilled to be joined today by two true experts on this topic globally. First is Dr. Anna He, founder and CEO of XCool Group, and welcome. And Mr. Jan Vapaavuori, the former mayor of Helsinki, welcome. First, just let me do a quick round of introduction for our two experts here today. Dr. Anna He is standing at the cutting edge of architecture and artificial intelligence, leading breakthrough platforms such as XCool technology and LookX.ai, based in both UAE and China, enabling cloud-based AI generative design tools. And before founding her companies, she played a key role at the OMA in Rotterdam and Hong Kong, contributing to major works such as the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. And today, she's further advancing research on AI-driven spatial autonomy, while also teaching at Shenzhen University and previously at Hong Kong University as well, inspiring the next generation of innovators. Welcome, Dr. He.
Thank you.
And Mr. Jan Vapaavuori is the former mayor of Helsinki, who oversaw the city's international race as a benchmark for trust-based innovation, design, and digital governance, as well as a human people for urban transformation. His leadership demonstrates how political legitimacy and human-centered governance enable technology to translate into better daily life. Mr. Vapaavuori is now a senior counsel at Gerard & Partners law firm, and also as the chairman of a Finnish export agency, Finnvera. He was previously the vice president of the European Investment Bank in Luxembourg, the Finnish Minister of Economic Affairs, the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning, member of the Finnish Parliament, and also the president of the Finnish Olympic Economy from 2020 to 2024. Welcome, Mr. Vapaavuori.
Thank you.
With that, let's deep dive into our topics today of what makes the city truly sentient, not just smart. Beginning to think how autonomy in urban systems is actually starting to take shape today. So my first question for our two panelists here today are actually, when does a smart system and city become sentient, in your opinion? And what can the cities actually decide and react to in such a sentient system? Maybe Dr. He, would you like to start?
Yeah. I think, first of all, if the city becomes to react to you, this is the moment. And there could be a lot of reactions in between what the city be captured and be operated and what can feedback to you. So that might be the moment and could be the sectors.
So reaction from the city components themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. You could say that smart city is based on data from the past, but we are not living in the past, we are living in the future. So a sentient city is a city which can also be responsive and can be adaptive, and in that sense also like it takes a comprehensive approach where it helps not only those people who have the best digital skills, but also the other people in the city. So some kind of holistic view, comprehensive approach in a way of understanding also like not only digital tools, but also behavioral issues in order to predict what happens and what is how you should then solve challenges and problems which you are facing in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Always planning for the immediate future through predictive tools, etc. I would like to emphasize actually, the concept that we're so aware of that we take it for granted right now, mass mobility as a service, actually was born in Helsinki, roughly around 2016, 2017. I would say in the past 10 years, the mobility transformation has been defined by this wave of mass movement. Uber, Lyft, Didi, Via, all these companies are actually providing mobility as a service platform. But as we're approaching sentient cities, it might actually evolve into something different, right? Would you like to share a little bit more about the mass movement?
Mobility as a service was invented in Helsinki, in Finland, that's true, but it didn't actually work that well in Helsinki.
Right.
And I think that the challenge and problem actually was that Helsinki was too small for that innovation. And that reminds me of the fact that you need different kind of solutions of different kind of cities and different size of cities. So the idea itself was brilliant, that you combine different kind of mobility in order to people to get the best possible way from place A to place B. But the market was too small in Finland, and that's why it didn't actually break out that well there.
Yep. Yep.
But I think there is a huge amount of possibilities regarding smart mobility in a sentient way. And I think something which is common all around the world, even if the circumstances differ, is weather. Mm-hmm. So the weather changes, and it can also take place quite suddenly. Mm-hmm. And in cities like Helsinki or like the Dutch cities, where I know you have studied, where you have a lot of people who are walking or who are cycling. Yeah. If it suddenly starts raining, it creates a chaos.
Yeah.
Even in like well-organized cities. And if you can predict that one, if you can, for example, increase the supply for public transport just before or just when it starts raining, of course, it helps a lot. Mm-hmm. And then we know that in all kind of cities all around the world, if you have some accidents or if you have some road maintenance work, it causes challenges and problems. Mm-hmm. And taking one, concrete example, how you can combine smart mobility with health issues is like ambulance routing, which could be a crucial issue. It's a crucial issue in big cities always, and it could be a crucial issue even in smaller cities when you have some congestion. And this is, I think, the future where we can really make a difference which helps people in their everyday life.
Absolutely. So, talking about proactive mobility and building and zoning and utility management systems, right? I was wondering, Doctor, through your work, especially increasingly on generative design and digital twin, are you incorporating these elements of proactive design or flexible design in your design thinking as well in order to make the city more reactive in the future?
Yeah, that's definitely the vision that we are working on. Because as mentioned, the smart city is based on the data we can collect from past. But the city we are living in is facing to the future. That's why we need to really predict what the city gonna happen. We had quite a lot of experience on cities planning and urban design. For instance, there was a big city right next to Beijing. if you know Xiong'an, it plans for a large population. And in such a new planning city, what should we do as a new city? It cannot just take data from the past because there's no past. It's just a brand new thing. So how can we do it? It's to predict. If we know the population, we know the goal of the city, for instance, from economical-wise, what's the potential GDP could be, and what kind of industry can be there. So we can simulate a visual urban design that people can move from point A to point B, and the goods can move from point A to point B. So this kind of things we simulate if this design can really adopt the future demands. So this is the one way to do it, but this is in the beginning of the design. However, during the operation or during the development of the city, you have to adopt the new coming data and the feedbacks from people. The people meaning from the management team, government team, and the people who really use it. So gathering all those information will help to adopt the new demands. And then this kind of demands will incorporate back to the urban design, because the urban design we did is not a dead urban design. Back to the history, a lot of urban design kind of a dead urban design, at least for a year, and then you continues to evolve it. However, the kind of the new way to do it is it's a kind of a dynamic system. Once you have some data add on, it will vary based on the algorithm and the data you just add on. So it will keep evolving, even daily, in some different sectors. Let's say, for instance, the size of a road. Of course, when you build it, it's done. However, if you can preserve some space and preserve for the future, for instance, when the population grow up and when there's more traffic, you can expand it. So tolerance and the tolerance based on the prediction is something we can do onto the generative design for the city based on simulations, predictions.
Thank you. So tolerance, building for redundancy, for example, leaving a buffer zone is also very important as we design new and existing cities.
Yes.
Right. But how do you deal with this challenge of, let's say, it takes 3 years for an architecture project to be designed. It takes 10 years for an infrastructure project to be designed and implemented. It takes 2 days for NVIDIA to iterate a new chip that challenges the technology. Technologies change every day. We have new technology companies, globally in mobility and urban innovation sectors. How do you deal with the time difference or iteration pace difference between infrastructure, buildings, and technology tools?
Maybe.
Please.
Okay. Because physical world is something you've done, it's very difficult to revise it.
Mm-hmm.
So it will really has to be very careful to when you really take an action to the physical world. So all those predictions, all those simulations need to be done earlier. Then you really start to do it. Otherwise, as you mentioned, you need 10 years to finish it. I think this is the one thing as a fact. However, there's also other ways to do reactions to the cities. Is the new industrial way to speed up the construction pace.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, the modernization or using factory to do prefabrication, it can speed up the procedure. And also it will help to adopt the changes during the changes because it happens fast and it reacts fast. Yeah, this is something I think it's happening right now. But I don't know.
I mean,
Jan has more experience than that.
If I take a little bit different angle, I mean, if you buy a toothbrush which you do not like, you can buy a new one next day.
Yeah.
If you buy a mobile phone which you think gets old-fashioned, you typically buy a new one in 2 years or something like, or 3 years or something like that. But that's not the case regarding buildings, and even less regarding cities and city infrastructure. I mean, we build cities, we build buildings, especially if we have a sustainable view on that for the next 50 years, 100 years, or something like that. And we are, of course, somehow locked to the know-how which we have at the time when we are planning that. But at the same time, we somehow should like take into account that the world will look like a little bit different in 20 years, I mean, even 2 years or something like that. It's an impossible task in some way. If I give you an example, we have I think, world-known digital twin covering the whole city of Helsinki, and which has helped us hugely regarding city planning. But it helps us only regarding city planning, regarding new areas of the city. So, for example, the digital twin helps us to predict different kind of floods if it's really raining heavily. And we know how to plan new areas in order to handle them. But that's about the new areas. It's not about the old ones, which we have, and especially in European cities, which are actually based on 50 years, 100 years, 150 years old buildings and infrastructure. And that is also the case, I mean, when you go to places, for example, China or Saudi Arabia or something like that, you see hugely advanced, I mean, wonderful new neighborhoods, which are built on the know-how and technology we have today. But that's only a small part of the city.
Part of a reference that I always use is whenever you take an airplane, for example, the charging port is always a USB-A. You can, as opposed to like USB-C, you can never proactively design the infrastructure for the needs for the future. But as a solution, though, for example, Helsinki is famous for being a very resilient and livable, with a high quality of life city. Could you share some, like tangible examples, or it could be high tech, could be low tech experiences of how you are actually adapting the city in real time to the needs of your citizens, either as a mayor, former mayor, or as a citizen in
Something which is certainly very low tech, but which we were very proud of, was that some years ago, all the families needed to apply for a preschool place for their kids when they reached some age. What we did, we created a database where we had all the locations for the kindergartens, all the addresses for the families having kids in that age, and then using AI, we created a system where we actually sent a text message to each and every parent proposing a kindergarten place for their kids. And more than 90% of the families accepted that. It was a proposal. It was not something which we told that your kid has to go there. But I mean, from a single family point of view, it helped them hugely not to go through the bureaucracy, which for most of them were totally new. They didn't know how to do that. And to spend a lot of time home thinking, should we take that or that or that or that or that kindergarten and so on. And from the system point of level, it was also a way to optimize the locations of the kindergartens, as well as that you can like avoid a situation where you have huge amount of people coming, trying to get to the same kindergarten and none to the neighboring one.
Yeah.
Of course, this would not have been possible if the kindergartens would not have been of the same quality, more or less, in the city, where you do not have that kind of, reason for kindergarten shopping. Very easy system, very low tech, but still a good example of combining different kind of databases in a way where both the system as well the individual families gain a lot.
The low tech part is actually more in the sense that you are doing a individual user-centric, human-centered design approach, but you also have the high tech of building the infrastructure for your educational resources, for example, taking the whole system approach of designing your whole public education system in Helsinki. So here we have this sort of this dilemma of the scale of the design challenge, right? You can design for one person as a user-centric user journey, you can get the best UI UX talent to design the user journey for one person. As a mayor, as a designer of master cities, you also have the challenge of designing for 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. In the case of Shenzhen, maybe 25 million. You have to design the system to accommodate 25 million people while also prioritizing the need of one individual person or household. So as a designer and a former mayor, how do you see this dichotomy between the designing for the one and the many?
I think actually that is the core of the responsibility of the city. And that is the best explanation for why we need public and private partnership. I strongly believe that it's only the city which ultimately can be responsible of the planning and of the city as a whole. But at the same time, it's the private sector which is innovating. And you need to have them working closely together. Because otherwise you don't see any real development, or if you see it limited to only some part of the society. Mm-hmm. So the role of the city is to come with the holistic view and a comprehensive approach, the understanding that everything affects everything, and also the equality angle that you need to create and give room and enable innovations which actually help the whole society, not only parts of that.
What are you, Dr. It's you design beautiful spaces for offices and rooms for one individual, but you also deal with data of multiple million people. How do you balance the design of one in a minute?
I think first of all, we need to take consideration that it's totally two different perspectives. For the cities, for the master plan of the urban areas, we need to balance a lot of sectors. And no matter just the economical, the cultural, historical, or social, and so on. That's for the government responsibility to take balance, which part will be the priority. But in this procedure, we have proposed something, I think it's a really meaningful to the government, is that we can ask the people's opinion on things. And this opinion can be gathered as information or data to be implemented to the database. For instance, there was a urban biennale in Shenzhen during 2017, and we created an app for the event. It's in an urban renewal area, and each of the visitors there, and also the local residents there, they can comment on things, just scanning the QR codes on the potential spots gonna be renovated. And they can put their comments there, and their comments will be put into the database. And once there's for instance, there's different options, and one option be adopted mostly by those local residents and the visitors, the government will take consideration, okay, I will build this thing. Mm. It can be a small pocket park, or can be some other facilities. So this is the way that the citizen can really participating how the city gonna be planned, mm-hmm. especially for cities has history. Yeah, this is something I think need to balance the top-down and the bottom-up strategies together. But here the algorithm is designed by people. So we need to have some, let's say, focus point or weight that need to choose the right direction. Of course, different government got different choices.
Yeah, you mentioned a very good point, which is a city has many different departments, and obviously as a mayor, you would know very well of your different departments of city, transportation, utility, water, electricity, education, etc. Do you foresee a somewhat, if I may say, if it's not too cliche, a ChatGPT moment for a city? For example, when, in the past, based on your experiences, I don't know, if maybe all these departments are all siloed in their own expertise. Transportation folks deal with their own roads and transit. You have the water guys do their water stuff. Do you foresee AI in 2025 be able to connect the dots together to, whether through a black box or through your manual adjusting of weights, we can actually connect different systems together to be able to, debug city issues or figure out the relationship between different services in order for the city to become, in a sense, sentient to the needs of your citizens.
Maybe.
I mean, absolutely. Sooner or later, in a way or another. I don't know exactly what it could be, but if we see the huge and extremely rapid development regarding AI in the private and business sector, I mean, of course, it will reach the city planning as well. And not only city planning, because we have it there already in many ways, but also in like governing a city in a comprehensive way. What kind of forms it will get, it's still very much an open issue. And of course, we need especially in the beginning, a clear controlling mechanism there. But I mean, I believe in the development that it will even get faster in the future, and I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, for me, the chat GPT moment is when everyone has a new device, not just their phones, but for instance, this HoloLens thing.
Or wearables and AR.
Yeah, wearable device that connect to the city system or city brand, let's say. And every movement of the city, you will get react. For instance, when you walk to somewhere, it will react to you on your screen. Mm-hmm. And this information or this data is gonna changing and adopted to you, to your own identity. So this is something I think is happening soon, perhaps, when this device can really be adopted to everyone. Just like the phones, you said you text message to everyone, right? To the parents. And in the future, it's gonna be something different and more immediate. Mm-hmm. You can get the reacts from the city.
Mm-hmm. So
but I mean, even if I believe in that, you need to remember that still you need skilled teachers, you need good doctors, you need infrastructure to be in place, you need to have a well-functioning governing model, you need to have trust between your people and the society. Mm. And what I actually also see is that at the same time when the technological development makes the world more equal, mm-hmm. it also at the same time makes bigger differences between those individuals, those corporations, those cities, and those societies who are better equipped by utilizing the new tools of AI and so on.
Yes, that's totally true. Because, for instance, in China, there's a lot of elders they don't even use smartphones, but now they still can find some way to, for instance, buy a ticket. Mm.
Yeah. Given this increasing level of autonomy, though, how do you ensure trust in the system? Like, how do you build trust in this increasingly autonomous city or sentient city? Is there something we can do as city parents, city father, city mother, to do it from a top-down angle to have a fallback mechanism of what a trustful sentient city system is, or would it take something bottom up and more on a community and system design level?
I think it's a really important angle. Of course, there are a lot of good countries and cities and societies all around the world, but Nordic countries are one of those. I think most people around the world think are quite successful ones, and I think that the one single most important angle of that is that it's a trust-based society. So people trust the society, people trust the government, people trust the politicians and the civil servants in large, not of course in every case. And that is the case in today's world where the government has still a quite limited role in many issues. If and when we are facing a world, a society, a reality where government, in this case maybe local government, is in a sentient way, predicting what's best for you and helping you, I mean, the trust element will be even more important. So I mean, and there is no easy single bullet for this one. It's a long-term exercise where you gradually have to increase the trust between you and your people, which we have been able to do in the Nordic states relatively well. But I think the starting point is transparency. That everything, let's put it in this way, all public documents are public. They are transparent. They are open. This is the starting point.
I would love to give you a plug by sharing. I think Helsinki government is actually one of the first open data governments cities in the world, right?
That's true. But
sort of,
the reason to open up the data was not to become even more transparent, even if that was also a result of that. The reason was to give the private sector a signal that please come and partner with us.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that the transparency is the foundation. Just refer me the Congress Hall renovation project in Berlin. You know, they have this glass dome that you can see everyone's talking there. And when you open up all the database and people can start to look into it, it would be similar to, for instance, the ChatGPT right now. When it first come out, you are wondering why it's answering like that. And now they showing the process of reasoning. Why is it like that, and what's the resource? You understand, and you will think following, saying, okay, this is a true or false. Also, like the autopilot, when you drive on the car, in the beginning you are afraid of it. However, when you try with it, you will see, okay, we can try. So this is the foundation. Yeah.
If the cities become so sentient and reactive, do we still need the Department of Planning, city planning?
Good question. What do you think?
I mean, certainly. I mean, we should not underestimate the pace and scope of the development, but we should not overestimate it either. City planning is among the most difficult tasks you have in modern societies. Much more difficult than most, I mean, even big leaders in the private sector can even think about. It is like taking account more or less everything in the human life, everything from traffic to education and everything from weather circumstances to a unpredictable future, and you need to plan a city in a way which then serves all kind of people, both new ones and old ones, the business society, the tourists, in different kind of circumstances and different kind of scenarios. And that is not something, I think, that the modern technology will take care of in the first phase, not in the second and not maybe in the third. I think that will be the last places where really, I mean, AI can do it instead of human being. Of course, it can help. It helps already today, and it certainly will play a role which is bigger and bigger all the time, but still the human aspect will certainly be there. And then it's also a democratic issue. It's also a political issue. It's also about the issue of having different kind of views of what is a good city, for example.
Okay.
So if you ask AI what is a good city, it gives you an answer. If you ask two politicians, you get another one and then the third one.
Yeah.
And then in democracy, it's still, I think, that is something, I think, even in the future, it will be people and their opinions who decide, not machines.
Yes, totally. As even we are working on AI, and when we design our AI design tool for the urban planning and so on, we always leave the decision to people. Because decision is about the positioning and about the argument. And this is something, from different perspective, you have different decision makings. It will just like the judge, you will never, you always need a judge. You will never have some circumstances you don't need it. So urban planning will always be there. But the AI can provide a lot of options and showing pro and cons, showing what's the predictions and so on, for you to make the right decision. But the role of this part of the department and the government, that need to really to balance what need to be done and what's the goal of the city.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and vision. Just to sum it up, if I may, a little bit, I think from our discussion, I can feel like a sentient city is something that listens, that learns and reacts, but always in service of the people and its citizens. A sentient city is not a science fiction. It already exists in some sense in certain parts of the world, at certain city functions. It is a design choice. It is not just a principle. It requires a governance that builds trust and not fear of technology. And it requires collaboration from multiple sectors, from both the public and the private sectors. So if we succeed, I think our cities will evolve from like silent infrastructure and physical infrastructure into living organisms and living partners of our citizens, actually. And thank you, our audience, for your time. And let's go build cities that shine and care.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.